I am so excited for yet another epic Rebel Radio conversation with my new friend, Margaret. Margaret, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here today.
I'm happy to be here, Cindy. Happy to meet you and your cat.
Yes, Django's always a part of the show. I love that. So before we went live, I shared a little bit of your numerology with you, and I'm curious, what was one of your big curiosities or aha moments about that?
I think a lot of it made sense, like wanting to make the world a better place and also a hermit.
Yes.
But I think the part that I hadn't thought about was that people are attracted and because I am willing to love and reflect them, and I needed to focus on actually loving myself so I could love and reflect them. And I think, as what I said was, just recently have I really tapped into how to love myself. I think I was afraid to because I thought it would make me selfish, but no.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a common perception that if we love ourselves, it's being selfish, right? But that is the most important thing for us to do. So I'm glad you figured it out.
Yeah. I was amazed at how much I loved other people when I loved myself. It was like,
Right?
oh, I actually forget myself when I love myself.
Exactly. It becomes
Yes.
easier. So tell us a little bit about who Margaret is. What do you do in the world?
I have become an author the last few years. And what I write is, I call it inspirational memoir. And I write about the experience that I have of turning, my life over to God by turning my to-do list over to however you connect with the divine. And because my day is my life. And
Yes.
so that's what I share. What happens when I do that?
Oh, I love that so much. What happens when you turn the to-do list over to God? That's so good. So good. So tell us a little bit. You have a published book, yes, or
I
more
have
than
two
one?
published, and I'm working on a third.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about these books, where we can find them if our audience wants to find a copy.
I have audiobooks for the first one and, Kindle and other ebooks and paperback. And
Yeah.
so they are on the website inhisfootsteps.com. I write from a Christian viewpoint, but more spiritual. It's not really religious.
Mhm.
I actually got a couple of complaints because it wasn't religious enough. Most people like it. So inhisfootsteps.com, the two books and the third one coming out will be there with the links. I have my social media links there, some of my YouTube videos, my blog post, and at the bottom of the page you can
Beautiful.
connect. And I have a newsletter. It only goes out once a month. I'll be sharing some stories on here, I'm sure. And basically the newsletter is a story and
Beautiful.
sometimes a joke, sometimes a picture of a cat. I don't have a cat. I have to borrow other people's cats.
You can borrow Django if you want. I'll send
Yes,
you
I could. We
photos.
could put it up there, and I could say I'm on Rebel Radio, and here's the cat. Okay, that'd be perfect. Here's your
Perfect.
cat.
I'll make sure you get a
Yeah.
photo.
Yes. Thank you.
I love it. Well, I'll make sure that your link is in the show notes so that if anybody wants to find your book and learn more about you, they can do so. So tell me how you got started on this author journey. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, that was also one of those what should I do today, God questions,
Hmm.
and that actually started when I was overwhelmed. I was a single mom. I had 8 children. Half were in college, half were still in high school. I
Eight
had gone back to college. Yes, to finish my last 2 semesters. I was an executive in the high tech industry at the time and in the PC industry, you just had to be smart. They just wanted someone smart who could do it, and that was me. And and but now I was kind of getting more like, well, we'd also like a degree. so,
Right.
so that's what I was doing. I was working full time. I had those 8 kids.
Wow.
We had one car. We had to like manage it for everybody to get to work and stuff. We started to get other cars when they got into college. And then I was like overwhelmed. I mean, I
No
knew how to set
kidding.
priorities. I knew how
8
to,
children
like,
alone.
yeah, this is my type A critical. I knew how to do that, but the whole thing looked like that all the time. And couldn't get any sleep. I was always waking in a panic. And it
Mhm.
seemed like whatever I did, it was not quite the right thing because,
Mhm.
I'd be doing a paper and I'd take it and the class would be canceled that night. Don't worry about the paper until Friday, something like that. And
Mhm.
so I finally thought, I wish I could see the future. And I thought, oh, I know who can see the future. So then I started saying, okay, God, here's my list. What should I do? And that's how it started. Here's my list. What should I do? I'm not the only person who's ever done that, by the way. And so what happened is I just started crossing things off that didn't really need to be done and
Mhm.
only focusing on the things that I felt he was saying needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I was finished every night by 8 o'clock. I didn't wake in a panic because I knew I'd done what I had to do. If I was stuck in rush hour traffic, I'd be like, well, he's in charge. Something will happen. The other person will be late too. Something will, and it always was. It always was fun.
Mhm.
I just didn't have to worry. But then it began to switch. It
Mhm.
began to switch where, so I kind of stopped because I thought, well, I shouldn't be bugging God with this stuff. And yeah, right. I had to handle my own life. I don't need to be micromanaged by God. But then I got in the same situation. And this
Mhm.
time I was remarried and I started asking again. And that's when I realized, oh, you know what? Looking at it from a Christian viewpoint, so I'll use this.
Mhm.
And the prayer, that prayer, what he says, "Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth, the way it is in heaven." And I
Yeah.
was trying to imagine a bunch of angels rushing up to God. I'm so busy, so much to do. Can you help me out here, God? Or did they go up and say, "Hey, I'm really committed to what you're trying to do. What do you want me to do?" And so that's when I
Mm.
started asking, what do you want me to do today, God? And it's usually, he never said, like, go off and be Mother Teresa. It was, it was like, I want you to call that neighbor they haven't talked to for a few days.
Yeah.
Or I need you to put a little meal together. He knows I hate to cook. So when he asks that, I'm like, please cut that. But
Don't make me today.
don't make me do that. But that's how I actually met the woman who became my best friend. I took her a meal. I didn't know her very well. And
Oh.
I didn't know. It just became like third grade best friends who could drive.
Aw.
It's like it was like
God.
that. So how did I get to the book? One day the thought was, I want you to start writing your life online. Now this was back in 1999, and blogs weren't real big then. This was
Mhm.
23 years ago.
Right?
Yeah. So,
I
and
graduated from high school then.
yeah, and WordPress was like, it's like not really great, had a habit of crashing. And so then I thought, well, I don't even know how to do that. So what do I do? And I came across this site, Open Diary, and I started writing on that. And I would just
Mm.
like, hey, today, I was praying and here's what I felt like I should do. And I went and did this and I had this thought, all these stories, right?
Yeah.
And so after a couple years of that, then the thought was, now make this a book. And I thought,
Mm.
so I was trying to figure out how to make chapters. And it was,
Right?
no, this is the book. And so, and people like it. They like it because it's sort of my version of a chicken soup for the soul book, if people remember that. Yes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the first book. The second book I would like to have called Emails from the Mission Field, because they were the emails with stories that I wrote home to people like,
Mm.
guess what I learned about prayer today? Like, you need to be specific.
Right.
I'm not kidding. I was like praying once, like we were in a Spanish speaking area, and sometimes people would come with us, and we had set up a second meeting with some people, and the people who were supposed to come with us didn't show up. And
Mhm.
I'm praying, please help the people to go by and see our car and know we need help. And
Mm.
that's what I thought. That's what I was praying. And the next day I ran into them. Oh man, we ran by, we drove by that place. We saw your car there and we thought, wow, they're brave because they really need help. But I did not stay and have them come in
And have them actually
and
help.
help. That's right. And I think it wasn't like God being mean or the universe. It was more like, look, tell us what you really want.
Yeah,
Right?
you need to
Yeah.
be really specific. I love that. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
I say that
awesome.
to people, "Have you prayed specifically for it?" "No, I just prayed for a blessing." Well, I'm gonna tell you, I prayed for that once, and what I got was another child. I was hoping for a job for my husband, but, in the '70s, there were so many recessions, it was hard to get and keep a job, but yeah,
Mm.
I'm like, okay, next time I'm definitely not praying a prayer like that again."
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I'm really curious, especially from the Christian viewpoint, how you define unity consciousness. I think we all have a different definition, and I'd love to know what your viewpoint is on that.
I do connect with that because I was raised with the idea that we all have a spirit, that trees have a spirit, that the earth has a spirit, that we all have a spirit, that we all have a purpose. and that we are to treat it, every living and non-living, because the earth, I don't think of, we think of as living,
Mhm.
with that same respect we expect to be, and love that we
Mm.
expect to be treated. And there
Yeah.
was one point in my life where, instead of a morning walk, I was doing, a walking meditation.
Mhm.
And the thought I had was, I just want you to just be aware. Just walk and just be aware of all the life around you. It
Mm.
was very centering. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I'm like whole body goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, what kind of rituals or habits, you've mentioned a couple like the walking meditation, but I'm curious what kind of rituals you have in place for tapping into unity consciousness, of staying aware of it.
Well, yeah, so that quite wasn't how I was thinking that question was going to go. I was like, what are my rituals? And I was like, oh, let me tell you what I do. But tapping into unity consciousness, I do contemplative prayer or centering prayer. And if you haven't had Rich Lewis on your show yet, you might want to talk to
He
him.
has been on the
There
show.
you go. I'm like, where's Rich been? Because I know that's the perfect show for me too. Okay. So I have been doing that since 2013,
Mhm.
where I just do that, just connect. And I can remember asking once, how are you aware of everything? And just this picture of a web came into my mind. It's all
Mm.
connected. And I can feel, like a spider. I hate to use the word spider because it creeps people out, but a spider can feel when something's touched on the web, right? And
Yeah.
so that's how it felt. This is, I just know, because I'm
Mhm.
connected and we're all connected. And I got bored with it. Um, I just got bored with it. I was like, just sitting here connecting. I need a little more. And
Right.
so it was, well, you could just send love out over the web. You
Mhm.
just sit here and send it out. You could aim it at someone. You could just send it. And so I thought, oh, so sometimes that's what I do.
I love that so much. And I love that you bring in the spider reference because I've always been terrified of spiders. Just ask my brother. Terrified.
Okay.
In the last few years, I've been working on that fear because somebody, actually my coach and business partner now, told me that the spider represents creative energy. So I
Oh,
love that you brought in that reference of the spider in the web because it's the creator, right? The
yes.
creator of the
Yeah, I
web.
like that. Yes.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that. So
That's
good.
good. I like that. I like that addition. Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so the other thing I still do is, because I do feel like we're connected, but I don't know everybody or everything.
Mhm,
And so I know some people believe, well, I just pray that, whoever I'm supposed to help will be there in front of me that day or use
mhm.
me or something. But I really do still say, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And often a thought will come, you know,
Mhm,
I want you to call this person. I want you to go to this place at a certain time. I have no idea why. And things happen as a result that I seem to be where I've, and he doesn't add a lot. Although
mhm,
he takes things off because I tend to, like many people,
mhm.
um, start adding projects.
Right?
Oh,
Us overachievers,
yes.
we like to
Yes.
do.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that. So,
I love that. I love that you're talking about this because this is something that I teach my students, is to always just allow yourself to let go of the how and just ask what's next. Because us humans, we love to try to control and manipulate, and we think that we know all the answers, but it's that moment of surrender where we just let go and let God. What do
yes.
you want me to do in your name? And I just love that so much. It's so good.
Yes. Oh, I had a thought when you said it, and I'm old now, I forgot it. But so it was, never mind. Go ahead. It's
Okay.
fine. When it comes
It'll
back,
come
I'll tell
back.
you.
It'll come back. So another thing that we love to talk about here at Rebel Radio is this concept of wealth. And everyone has a different definition of wealth. And I would love to know what your definition is.
I have enough, and it's interesting, sufficient and more in just about every area. My
Mhm.
husband, I have 8 children. It's his second marriage. He has 7. We have enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey,
Enough
I don't pray for you
children.
all every day. So if you need something special, you better let me know because it's like your day is Tuesday. Okay. That's me praying for you. But I can remember with a grandson once because we would drive this old beater car, but it cost us $500 and it got good miles, so we didn't care. We're not the kind of people who cared, right? I can
Mhm.
remember my grandson saying, "You're not rich, are you?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm rich." And he said, "Well," because he said, "Well," I said, "If I have everything I need and a lot of what I want, I think that makes me rich, right?" And he's
Mhm.
looking at my car like, I don't really think so, Grandma." And I
That's no Ferrari, Grandma.
yeah, exactly. It's like, well, the trick is not to want much, be happy with what you've got.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and I love that. Sufficient and more, right? It's not just about being able to put food on the table, but you have what you want in life. And I think that's the key. Some people want a cabin in the woods that's off the grid, and other people want three Ferraris in their garage. I
right,
don't think there's any judgment behind either of that. Want what you want. And
right.
sometimes the simple life is the way to go. Yeah, I love that. So, what is, I mean, as an author, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's been around the block, what is one truth that you wish every entrepreneur knew?
I share this because I did have my own business for a while, and some of my sons, nephews, nieces have them. And I say this: you do what you do best and hire the rest out. Um,
Mm.
so, what I know is people who are great at sales, is how they built their business. The first thing they want to do is hire a salesperson. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you hire an administrator. You hire someone who calls from the office and sets up and confirms your appointments. You get out there and do what you do best until
Yeah,
you just can't build it anymore. And then you need a salesperson. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, own your truth and hire out the stuff that you don't love or that you're not very good at. Yeah,
right.
love that. Outsourcing. Outsourcing is everything.
Yeah.
So, what's something you've discovered about yourself along your journey that's really helped you to grow? Just one thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one thing, that contemplative prayer where like I said, I just learned to love myself. So I have sometimes I'll have a question, but that's not what I expect to be answered during contemplative prayer time. But a
Mm,
few weeks ago, really, I'm doing this, I can whatever you want to send. And I would see pictures, and one of them was of me as a little baby. I was so cute. And God
mm,
was just loving this little baby. And I'm like, oh, I love her too. And then he hands me to me. And I was like
mhm.
loving me. And that's the first time I've ever loved me, not tried to fix me. And
Oh,
I'm telling you, that lasted about a week. Wherever I went, I loved everybody. I loved
mhm.
everybody the way I loved me. And I really loved me. So it's interesting. Just saying it, I remember it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need a redo on that one. I need you to keep because I've kind of lost it.
Just keep feeling it. Just keep feeling
Mhm.
it. Oh, I love that so much. Margaret, I feel like I could talk to you all day long. I have loved this conversation, love your sense of humor as well. But as always, we end the show with one last question. What do you dream of for the world?
I wish everyone would get up and say, "What do you want me to do?"
Hmm.
to whoever the divine is in their life. I think we'd
Oh,
have a completely different world.
yes, please. Yes, please. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Margaret. It's been such a
Thanks.
pleasure having you.
Okay. Thanks, Cindy. I love